How do, Jason?
Hey, Alan. I've been speaking to a few of my mates tonight about objects travelling at the speed of light. I think it's called Einstein's theory of relativity. Right? It's about... He says that it's impossible to get something to travel faster than the speed of light. I wonder if you agree with that.
I don't know whether I agree with it, but what I do know is if it did travel faster than the speed of light, it wouldn't matter because no one would know, because no one would see it. Hello, Greg.
You know.
Hello, Greg.
Hello, Alan. I'd like to talk about CSE results, please. Is that alright?
We'll wait and see.
Well, I took 3 CSEs, 1 in physics, chemistry and biology. And I got a grade 1 in physics and chemistry, but biology, which I consider to be my best subject, and the teachers considered to be, I got a grade 5. And I was just wondering if there's anything I can do to try and find out if this is right and try and,
Yeah, ask your teacher. How do, John?
Hello. I'd like to speak to you about the subject of Jehovah's Witnesses and door-to-door salesmen.
Feel free.
Yeah, now over the past years, my house has been broken into several times. Now, if these people walk up someone's garden path, surely they are trespassing, and they may well have a good look in through your windows to see what's worth pinching.
Well, they are trespassing, but trespassing isn't a crime.
Yeah, well, surely they should not be allowed to set foot on someone else's land unless
Yes, they are.
Permission.
Yes, they are.
Because they could easily just have a look.
Yes, they are allowed.
Well, what?
Let us face it, you want some people to.
Yeah, well, but...
So you provide the facility. You want your window cleaner too. You want your dustbin man to do so.
Yeah, and the milkman.
And the milkman and the postman. So we provide that facility.
But what happens when you tell them to get off and they won't?
If they do not leave your property when you ask them to, you have a legal recourse. Call a copper.
Yeah. Okay, well, thanks for that anyway.
Pleasure. How do, Gary?
Hello, Mr. Beswick. I'd like to convince you that there are, in fact, UFOs.
Well, I know there are. I've already said unidentified flying objects.
Yeah, that's okay. What I'm talking about is, first of all, the statistics prove that with every 15th sun, there are indeed planets around it.
Well, there aren't that many people got 15 children these days. One of the best albums around at the present moment, as they say, is this one. I played a track from it last night. This is an exceptionally long track called Joan of Arc. 13 minutes to 1, another couple of records on the melodic moment, and one that I know and like, one that I've never heard of. It's called Sweet People, and the Birds Were Singing. Nor is it, and the Birds Were Singing by Sweet People. I actually think it's the former rather than the latter. Maybe there'll be some clues in the record. I've got me doubts. Followed by Peter Skellen and that beautiful song, How Lovely. Oh God, there's birds on it. Ecky thumb. Sweet People's the band, it would seem.
Ring him if you dare.
Allan Beswick, the late night show.
Time is 4 minutes to 1. The telephone number is Preston 561,000. The station is Red Rose Radio. The presenter is Allan Beswick, and the programme is made by you. And you do that by ringing us on Preston 561,000. Would seem we've trod on the lads' corns. And Rod texts the calls. There, how's that? You feel better now, do you? Gordon Bennett, I mean, he don't get a lot of praise, but he earns it. Not getting a lot of praise, I mean. Don't say thank you till you know what I'm on about. Right. It's a shame you can't hear him, really, because some of his witticisms would really make me sound talented. How do, Don?
Hello, Alan.
What can we do
thanks for the Skellen record. I enjoyed that. I'm a Skellen.
Glad to hear it. What do you want?
Aye, I'm a motorcyclist and I obey the laws of the land and I wear a crash helmet. Well, you've got to wear a safety helmet and I'm not racialist, but why should Sikhs get away with not having to wear them? I know they've got to wear a turban, but when they play hockey, which is, I think, one of the national sport of India, they get away with wearing a little piece of material to represent the turban. They just wear this little piece of material, play the hockey. Why don't they wear this little piece of material and wear a helmet like the rest of us people? As I say, I'm not racialist, but I just think it's simple to do.
The simple answer is that the turban has been tested and tied properly or wrapped properly. It actually affords better protection than the crash helmet.
I would doubt that. It doesn't conform to British standards.
It doesn't conform to a British standard, because there isn't a British standard, but that wasn't what I said.
There's
and
a
so
British
that
standard for helmets, but not for turbans.
No, listen carefully and you will come to understand at least what I said. Whether you then agree with it is a matter for you. But if you're doubting what I said, you have the... Hang on, the...
Prerogative?
No, well, you have the prerogative, yes. I'm trying to think of the name of the organisation that... The Road Accident Research Centre actually did some research on it, and they discovered that a turban tied properly affords more protection than a crash helmet. And that was one of the pieces of information that helped persuade the government to make that allowance.
No, hold on a bit now. A turban only covers up to... a helmet goes right in the back of your neck and will protect you, stop you breaking your neck.
No, it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't.
Why is that?
A helmet wouldn't stop you breaking your neck.
Well, it would help to stop you breaking.
No, a helmet wouldn't help to stop you breaking your neck.
Well, I would.
The thing that causes the thing that causes the thing that causes a break the thing that causes a break of the neck is very rarely pressure on the neck, but the whiplash effect of the head.
Well, I would agree with that, but
and the helmet does not prevent that.
At next Sunday's British Grand Prix at Silverstone, they'd all be riding around wearing turbans.
No, they wouldn't, because...
They would if they offered more protection.
No, they wouldn't, because I'm sure they don't offer as much fire protection.
No, there's no such thing as fire protection on motorcycles. You're talking about cars now.
Fine.
Well, there's a fire risk. There's not the same...
Well, I don't know what goes on at Silverstone. I thought Silverstone was a car racing track.
No,
I don't know.
Silverstone is the British... sorry. I'm wrong. It used to be.
Thanks very much. Good night. How do, Paul?
Good morning, Alan. Sorry. I was very sad to hear you last night talking to that young chap about the YTS and why he should really.
Okay, well, don't go away. There isn't time for you to redeem your sadness. Stay with me. I'll be with you after the news.
The 1 o'clock news, this is Therese Birch. A 7-year-old boy is undergoing emergency surgery after his ear was torn off on a fairground water ride. Rescuers described the Thunder River ride at Thorpe Park in Surrey as a sea of blood after the youngster, his mother and sister were tipped out of their boat. Liam White from Reading in Berkshire is the latest victim in a series of accidents at amusement parks. Labour MP Bob Cryer is calling for urgent inspections of all fairground rides and water chutes.
Until and unless there are continuing spot checks on fairground machinery and equipment, I think that to leave it in the hands of the operators themselves, as our experience has demonstrated, is asking for disaster. And 4 disasters have taken place this summer, and unless something is done, they'll happen again and again and again.
6 Soviet engineers at the Chernobyl nuclear plant will today be sentenced on charges of violating safety rules and negligence. Their trial has been held in secret at an improvised courthouse, and they face up to 10 years in jail for their roles in the disaster which killed 31 people and caused massive contamination. South Africa is claiming that its army has killed nearly 200 Angolan troops and black nationalist rebels in a huge cross-border raid. Only 1 South African is reported to have been injured in the clashes in the frontline state of Angola. President Reagan is saying that he's now hopeful of an historic arms limitation agreement with the Russians by the end of the year. His negotiators have been meeting the Soviets in Geneva, and he says he'd like to have a summit soon with Mikhail Gorbachev to discuss a treaty banning all medium and short-range missiles.
There's still much to do in Geneva, but I'm heartened that the climate is now receptive to an historic proposal of this type. The United States is proud to be in a position to make this proposal.
TV tough guy actor Edward Woodward is said to be comfortable in a Midlands hospital after a suspected heart attack. The 57-year-old star of Callan and The Equalizer was taken to Warwick Hospital for tests after complaining of breathing difficulties and chest pains. His wife, actress Michelle Dotrice, travelled with him. Mrs Thatcher flies to Paris today to join French President François Mitterrand in signing the go-ahead for building work to begin on the Channel Tunnel. Construction is finally getting underway despite continuing problems in financing the project and claims that it's unsafe and will wreck the Kent countryside. Peter Spencer reports.
Though the project's been technically feasible for more than 100 years, it's always been dogged by financial and political problems. But this time the backers, Eurotunnel, are confident that it'll actually get built. And now that Parliament and the French Senate have both given the go-ahead, all that's needed is today's formal rubber stamping at the Élysée Palace for digging to begin. It gets underway in a couple of months and the first trains are expected through the tunnel in 1993. Peter Spencer, IRN, Paris.
Italy has a new government, the 47th since the end of World War II, and it'll be led by the country's youngest Prime Minister ever, Giovanni Goria, who turns 44 on Thursday. The announcement of the new government ends 5 months of political crisis in the country. Independent Radio News.
Ring him if you dare.
Allan Beswick, The Late Night Show.
And if you wish to join us, the telephone number is Preston 56 1000.
We'll make you laugh, we'll make you smile. You know you have some fun on Red Road 301.
Now then, Paul.
I was just wondering why you were so in favour of the government's forceful tactics on YTS.
Who says I am?
Well, you seem to be. Are you or aren't you?
What does it matter?
It matters a lot.
Why does it matter whether I'm in favour or against?
Because I am very definitely against it.
Well, yes, that's what you feel. I asked you what it matters, what I feel.
It matters a lot. Because you can put forward on your programme any amount of things to help to fight against this forceful
But who's to say
tactic.
that I should?
I'm just asking you whether you are in favour or not.
And I'm asking you, of what importance is that to you?
Makes a lot of importance. It's a lot. It's because you are in the position to help a lot of kids just on your programme alone.
How would you suggest I go about this charitable function?
You're in the position right now.
I'm asking you how I go about it.
It's very hard.
Tell me about it.
I'll tell you what I think about it.
I don't want to know what you think about it. I want you to tell me what I can do about it.
You could tell them that you disagree with it.
What difference would that make?
Make a hell of a lot of difference.
Would it?
Yeah.
What difference?
Because kiddies then, who are going on...
Kiddies?
Well, young lads, girls, who are going on these schemes, and at the end of the schemes...
No, now you're telling me what's wrong with the scheme. I asked you what difference it would make what I said.
If nothing else, it'd be a boost for them.
Why would it?
Well, to have someone in your position on radio, telling them that you thoroughly agree with them, that they shouldn't have to go on these schemes if they don't want to.
Why would that give them a boost? If they still have to go on the scheme, then they're going to be pigged off by it if they don't want to be on it.
They certainly are, but any help from any quarter, the way things are going...
But there is no help.
There is help.
Not by me saying I agree or disagree. It doesn't affect it at all.
It does.
I don't think it does.
I do. To a lot of kids it would.
It's unfortunate then, isn't it?
It is sad. That's what I was saying. It was sad the way you come across on this YTS scheme, that you're all in favour of what the government are doing.
Oh.
And that's your only stand on the position, really, isn't it?
What stand?
That you're in favour of what the government are doing.
Paul, that's an assumption you've made.
It isn't an assumption. From the way you've only the youngsters that you've had on regarding the YTS, the assumption is that you, it may be an assumption, but it's the way you come across on the radio, is that you seem to be very much in favour of the government's policy.
Let me ask you a question. What do you think I should do? Given that I'm not about to tell you whether I'm in favour or against, I may tell the next caller. I may tell the next caller, but I'm not about to tell you.
Yeah.
But let us just deal with it as it is. You have decided, on the basis of what you've heard, and I don't know how, to what extent you've listened, but on the basis of what you've heard, you have decided that I am in favour of the government's policy.
Yes.
Let us, for the purpose of this conversation only, assume that I am.
Right.
Are you now suggesting I should lie in order to make the young people feel better?
No.
No. What then?
Tell us whether you're in favour or against
Well, no, we've made an assumption on which to base this conversation.
And I told you, no, you shouldn't lie.
So
you should come out straight and say.
No, we've made an assumption. So, assuming, and it is only an assumption for this conversation, you still have no information from me during the course of this conversation as to which side of the fence I stand, if any.
Right.
But let us assume that I am in favour of the government's policy.
Yeah.
You don't want me to lie.
No.
You presumably want me to say, yes, the government is right, it is absolutely fitting and proper that they should do what they are doing. Is that what you want me to do?
No, I don't want that. The question was yes or no, and you're just evading it.
I have evaded it for the time being, and I've asked you what you think I should do.
I've told you.
If I think the government is right, do you think I should say...
tell them. Yeah.
I should
obviously.
say... Fine.
Obviously.
Now,
But
what if I think the government is wrong?
I think there again you should tell the truth.
What if I think that the scheme has merit and problem?
Yeah. Which I'd agree with, yeah.
What am I to do then?
You've got to come down on one side. Whether
why have I? Well, surely I can only...
obviously there's a balance, and the greater balance of if you think it's right, if that outweighs what you think's wrong with the schemes, you should come out for the schemes.
But what if I feel I have insufficient information or insufficient resources to glean or gain that information to actually make a decision that I'm prepared to defend?
Well, I think you must have those resources.
I don't think many of us do, to be honest.
I do.
What are those resources, then?
Well, from any amount of kids, if you take 70% of those children, sorry, I'm talking about children again, of those young people on the schemes, and, you know, you talk to those people, and at the end of the schemes, for instance, the young people that I've talked to, say 30% of them, which is going over the top a little bit, I'd say it was between 15 and 20% that have gone on to get jobs which are sort of worthwhile, not worthwhile, you know, as we would look at a job. The ones that haven't got jobs and have just been thrown on the rubbish heap after that 12 months far outweigh the ones that have gone on to get a job. And some of the things that they've been asked to do, for instance...
well, we know about the criticism of the scheme. What you're trying to say is that what you're trying to say is that if I asked all the young people on the scheme, 70% of me would tell them that they didn't think it was worthwhile.
More than 70%.
Well, all right, you can pick whatever number you like. We have a hat, pick one of the numbers out. It really doesn't matter. It's a raffle. So let us say 99.99999% will say they don't like it. That doesn't persuade me that the scheme is wrong. That persuades me that the people on the scheme dislike it. Perhaps I could still hold the view that, in fact, the scheme is right and the government have no choice given their problems.
Yeah, given their problems. But, you see, once they come onto the scrap heap at the end of that 12 months and there's no continuation of work, the way they must feel is you just couldn't imagine it, could you?
Well, I'm not going to get involved in their emotions. That's not my problem, and it never will
not
be.
Your problem,
Tell me then, Paul, what you think the government should do. You're clearly against the scheme. We still don't know, or at least you don't know what my view is. But tell me what you think the government should do instead of YTS.
Well, personally, I would like
I'm telling you what you think they should do.
Go on.
So, well, I'm asking you to tell me what you think they should do. All this crap about what you would like. We would like everyone to have a job that paid at least £5,500 a week. We're not going to get that. So tell me what you think the government should do, given the economic climate as it is.
As it is, right? There still should be no forcing tactics for a start. More classes made available, more practical workshops made available that would actually teach them, if anything, some kind of a trade.
So, per se, you are not against youth training schemes?
If it does any good for the kids that are on them, and at the end they have got something to look forward to and not thrown back on the scrap heap.
When you say something to look forward to, explain what you mean.
Continuation of work, for a start.
So you're not talking about training schemes, you're talking about training as apprenticeships and training for specific jobs that are already there.
Well, that would be fantastic if there was
Of course it would.
apprenticeships.
Now
But
that
we
we-
know there's no...
Right, now that we've established that that is what you want, let's come back to the question I asked you, which you seem to have not heard, or maybe you think you're a better sidestepper than you really are. But here is the question again. What do you think the government should do, given the economic climate?
It's a hard question, obviously.
Well,
But-
sorry if
but
you
they
find
can't-
it too
all right,
hard,
all right.
but the government seem to find it quite hard as well.
Yeah, but they
what
can't-
do you think the government should do?
Not force people to work.
Do what then? What is the alternative to that?
You cannot force...
Well, first
They
of all,
have forced... I'm saying you can't, yeah.
you're
can't
saying
force
that
people
you're saying
to
that
work.
you ought not to, but
You
I'm
ought
asking
not
you
to.
to tell me what they should do. Let us presume then that they don't force people to go onto the YTS, or these young people to go onto the YTS. What should they do?
Well, they
Give them money for not doing?
Try, as I say, try and get them...
Well, let us presume that they're not going to succeed in trying to get them proper employment.
Yeah.
And let us presume, as appears to have been the case for some years now, that unemployment is going to be with us. Unemployment is with us, it is a problem, it's not going to go away overnight. The government have got to do something about the young people who come out of school and have nothing to go to. Now, do you suggest that they ask them very, very nicely if they'd like to step this way, or do they say to them, you carry on? Because let's face it, education is compulsory.
Yeah.
And all that the YTS really is it not, is an extension of education.
No, I don't think it is an extensive education.
What is it? No, I didn't say extensive, I said an extension of.
Yeah. Well, I think the only way to do it